Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lottielab's Interactivity 101 workshop. We're very glad to have everyone here today. With me, I have Daryl, who is Lottielab's genius product designer. If you follow Daryl on Twitter, is no stranger to you, and you've seen a lot of his works, interactive animations, static animations made on Lottielab. In today's workshop, Daryl will be taking us on a step-by-step class on how to create Lottie animations, interactive Lottie animations on Lottielab, and we'll be showing you just different interactive animations made on Lottielab, from simple ones to complex ones. So stick with us. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat box, and we'll get to them at the end of the class. This is going to be very hands-on. We would love for everyone to follow us as we go. So if you have a Lottielab account and you have two screens, would be best to have this on your larger screen and have your Lottielab account open so that you can follow Daryl along as he goes. Again, if you have any questions, just put them in the chat box and we'll get to them at the end of the session. We're just going to wait for more people to join us. In the meantime, we want to have some engagements in the chat box. So if everyone can just drop the flag of the country where they are joining us from, that would be really, really good. We know that we have like designers from really all over the world who use Lottielab, and you can just sort of rep your country in the chat box by dropping the flag of wherever you're watching this from. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you can interact with us. And if you have friends, family, co-workers, colleagues, just people who really love to design, you can share the link to this workshop with them so that we can all learn together. For those who don't know me, my name is Tofumi. I'm the growth marketer here at Lottielab. And we will just kick this off. I think this is for 2 minutes past 4. I'll have Daryl introduce himself and just give us like a brief rundown of what to expect from this session while we wait for everyone else to join. Daryl?
All right, cool. So, wait, I don't have to start yet, right? I still need to wait for others, or
Yeah, in the meantime,
okay.
you can just introduce yourself so everyone knows
Oh
you
yeah,
and give
yeah,
us a
yeah.
brief rundown of what to expect.
Oh yeah, for sure. So, where do I start? Well, let's start with saying, hey guys, I'm Daryl. I'm a designer here in Loy Lab, and you probably know me as the guy who, I don't know, who posts everything and anything about Loy Lab in Twitter or somewhere in LinkedIn. And I think the only other thing that you need to know about me is that I've been a part of Loy Lab ever since, or should I say, even before the editor could even move shapes or even create shapes. I was a part of a team when it only had one feature, and that specific feature was changing a color to a specific layer. And changing that color, you only got like predefined colors. And that was like the only feature when I joined the team back then. But fast forward to today, we got like tons of users, and we've only been out for like a year and a couple weeks. And yeah, it's been great so far. And as we all know, there's been like tons of demands for producing tutorials or like hosting workshops like this. And I honestly don't know why we didn't do it back then. Probably the vibes weren't right, but for now, it feels kind of good to do one right now. But yeah, and honestly, I thought at first I thought that our first workshop was going to be something about animating something in Loy Lab or doing or like animating this specific animation or this specific animation. But turns out it's gonna be something else. And that something else is what we're gonna be talking about today. And yeah, basically this is where I then start. Or should I start? This is
I'm just gonna check the vibes and
okay.
see that it's right.
All right.
We currently have we currently have 35 people watching. Guys, we want to see you engage with us in the chat box. So if you can drop the flag of where you're watching this workshop from, that would be really, really good. And we're 5 minutes in. I think it's okay to start now, Daryl.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I
So
think you can.
let me actually just share my screen here.
Okay.
All right, cool. Oh yeah. Where was I? Where was I? Where was I? I forgot where was I. Oh yeah, basically welcome to Lottielab's first ever workshop. This is Interactivity 101, so where you'll learn how to create interactive Lottie animations effortlessly within Lottielab. And basically the agenda for today is that we're just going to be familiarizing the parts of the Interactivity UI and how it works. Then after that, we're going to be doing like a follow along interactive design session. I've already prepared the assets for this one, so all you need to do is just like add the interactions for it. That being said, let's get started. All right, cool. And to start, let's start with the concept. So imagine we got here like a light. This is like a light bulb and a switch. And by the way, this is a Lottie. And the switch can have two states. It could either be on or off. And we got a rule here. And the rule is that whenever we switch the state, if it's currently off, if we press it, it turns on. And if we like press it again whilst it's currently on the on state, it turns off. And this switch is a type of a simple state machine. And Lottielab's interactivity is based entirely on the same concept. Your Lottie can be one of a number of states that you define. And to define states, we made it really simple for designers, or for those people who are not familiar with like states. We've designed it to be really simple, and we've made each state correspond to a time segment of your Lottie's animation. So again, with the same example, I got two different states over here. I got the off state and the on state. And on the off state, as you can see below, we got the time segments defined with like 0 up until to zero point 0.5 seconds, and the on state defined from zero point 0.5 seconds up until to a second. But states alone aren't really useful because they need rules to trigger changes. Again, with the same example, whenever it's off, we press on it, it turns on. Whenever it's on, we press on it, it turns off. And these rules are what we call interactions. And if you look at the panel on the right, if you're familiar with like Figma, you'll definitely feel right at home when you're going to use this one. And yeah, these actually are just the three things you need to operate Lottielab's interactivity: states, state properties, and interactions. That said, that's the basic overview for what we're going to do. So on to this step, we're basically good to go to test out or familiarize Lottielab's interactivity UI. So let me just switch to Lottielab right now. And all right, cool. So we're currently in Lottielab. Welcome to Lottielab. At the moment, we're in design mode. Question now is, how do I get to interactivity? Well, to get into interactivity, what we're going to do is we need to press this interactivity tool right here at the right hand corner of the toolbar. So this one right here, this icon is going to be everything about interactivity. Once we press in it, it's going to give us a whole lot of new information. So where do we start for this one? Well, let's start to focus on the states panel right here. So in the states panel, this shows you the list of all the states that you have created. From here, you can basically add states, remove a state, rename a state. For this one, I'm going to rename it back to state 1, or even reorder the states if you want to. There you go. That's one part of the UI. On the other end is that you got the properties panel. In this panel, each state is defined by time segment, playbook properties, or and interactions. And at the bottom, you see the state timeline. For this one, this is similar to the normal timeline, but instead of like showing the keyframes, what you see here is that it allows what you see here are the predefined segments for the states that you've already defined. So those are the three things that are like pretty useful for doing interactivity. Or did I miss anything else? Oh yeah, I did miss something else. I miss playground. So playground is basically where you preview or test your um, interactive lotties. So let's head on to playground. And if you look at on the right side, we basically see the different states that we had. So we got state 1, state 2, state 3, and state 1 is currently highlighted. The meaning for it being highlighted is that this shows that it's currently active at this point in time. So let's see here. Whenever we click on shape layer 1, it goes to state 2. So let's try to do that one. We click it. There you go. It switches to state number 2. On state number 2, when we click shape layer 1 again, it goes to shape state 3. We click it, it goes to state 3. Now we click again the shape, and it goes back to state 1. And then that's basically it for the playground. And now let's just review back on the key parts of the interactivity UI. So there's that. Let's go back to that one. All right, so let's focus again on states. Oh, sorry. Let's focus again on states. Highlight that one. Okay. Before actually talking anything about states panel, what actually are states? So states are central to Lottielab's interactivity. Each state represents like a segment of the entire Lottie animation. At any time, there could only be one state that could be played. Again, in Lottielab, a state corresponds to a specific time segment of the animation. When that state is active, it will only play that segment. And now talking about segments, how do you define a segment? Well, to define a segment, you basically define it here in its state timeline. And to do that one, you could basically just drag this out, adjust it, move it around, and this is how you define like a time segment. So for this one, state 1, I've set it to 0.9 seconds to 1.73 seconds, but I'll just revert it back to its original state. Or the other option for you to define state segments is via over the properties panel. And below, you can see that we got a start and end for segments. And this is one way to, I don't know, to define your states, your time segments. Other than that, you can also see other state properties. So we got here our looping option, our speed option, and also the direction. So as for the looping option, what options we have here? You got play once, you got loop infinitely, you got loop for a number, for like given number of times, or we got duration or we got pause. And then for this one, we got the playback speed. We can basically set this back to like a normal speed to 1x, or twice the speed, 2x, or 3x, etc. So for this one, we're going to directions, and inside of directions, there's basically two options that you got. You could either play it forwards or play it in reverse, right? And then in here, you can also see the interactions. And interactions are specific to a state or layer. And within a state or layer, you can add multiple interactions. So for this one, I've already added in a click interaction. I could also add like a hover interaction, a press interaction, or like a finish interaction. But let me just remove them for now. And since we're talking about interaction, let's dive right into the, what do you call this one? The anatomy of like the interaction. So for this one, on top left, you can see that we have the events. For this one, the event is set to on click. Let's set this one, and we can see here the following events. You got while hovered, on click, while press, mouse enter, etc., etc., etc. But you can also see that there are other events that are not being, but they're not being, or for some reason, are being dimmed down. And that's because these events are only available to use on a state level. And because we're adding our interaction on a layer level, we only have this available options. And if we do want to add like, what do you call this one? A state level interaction, what we're going to do is we basically just need to press this one over here, our state. That basically deselects our layer. And from here, we can add a state level interaction. So what wasn't available before was available now. So we got after finish, after delay, custom events, follow cursor, and a custom formula. And so that's basically how you set like events for interactions. And now let's get back onto like the different parts of the interaction. So in here, we got the destination state. So we basically said here, like on state 1, we want it to transition to state 2 whenever we click it. And that's basically how you read like an interaction. And this part over here, you got like a transition time. You got instant and blend. For this one, you could think of Figma's Smart Animate. It's basically the same concept with instant and Smart Animate. Instant basically transitions to a new state instantly, whereas blend is that it blends out smoothly from one state to another. All right. So next part is start new state at. So this one is a little bit tricky to explain, but I'll try my best to explain this one. So, or I'll probably even do a demo for this one. So basically, this one here, if you've set its beginning, it starts a new state at the beginning of the playhead. like at this part of the playhead. If we do press this one, it starts over here at the beginning. But if we set it to transfer, whoops, if we've set it to transfer, say that we got two states. Your primary state or your current state is currently playing, and you've added like an event at 50%, and at that 50%, it smoothly transitions to the next state at the exact same progress point, which is at 50%. So it smoothly transitions from state one's 50% onto the next state's 50%. So I'm going to do a quick little demo for this one later after I've finished explaining the remaining two parts of the interaction, which I think doesn't need any explaining. So for this one, this is basically the transition easing and transition duration. This is basically how fast you want it to transition to the next state, or how do you want it to ease to the next state. That's basically it. And again, where was I? Oh yeah, I'm gonna do a little demo on how we can use beginning and transfer. All right, so let me just delete this one actually, and delete all the states, just so that we got a simple empty state. Oh, it's already animated. Let's actually delete that one. For this one, let's try to do an animation that goes. It's got 3 seconds, so 0.5. Let's try to do this one over here and over here. What I want to do is that I want to loop this part. It goes back and forth. All right. And for this part, I'm going to duplicate it. So, but for this part on this state number 2, I'm going to set this one as state number 2 later. I want this to be red. All right. So this part right here, let's set this one to 1 second. So state number 1, set it up until 1 second. And we want this to play infinitely. And on the second state, what we're going to do is we're going to add this here, adjust that 2 seconds. So preview that one quickly. All right, that's what I want. Oh, let me just close this one. This one over here, play segment, I want it to loop infinitely as well. So for this state over here, what I want to do is whenever let me create another element over here. Let me create that, and I'm going to turn it black quickly. Whenever I click this black element, this one, whenever I click this one, I want it to transition to the next state. So on click, but for now, I'm going to show you what it looks like if it's set to beginning. So let's see that one quickly. Wait, this one, yeah, let's also set another state back to state 1 and also at beginning. All right, so let's preview that one quickly, and this is how it looks if it's currently set to beginning instead of transfer. So what it does is that it quickly goes back at the start of the state number 2. So if you see here, there's a bit of a delay, and the continuity of the animation is not really that smooth, which is not what I want. So what I'm going to do instead is that I'm going to set the blending, start new state at transfer, and the same thing for this one to transfer. What it does is that this basically just smoothens out the animation. So for this one, this is going to smoothly transition to red. There you go. And this one smoothly transition back to yellow. So this is pretty much ideal if you got like a walking cycle that you want to change like the color of a shirt of a character, or you got like a bouncing ball, like you got a basketball bouncing, and then you want to switch it to like a soccer ball or something. And this is basically the concept of like transfer. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for like the initial how everything works for interactivity. Oh yeah, another thing. Before we actually do proceed with the demoed assets, what do you think is going to happen if we do this and we have like a curve pad over here? Right, so, and for that one, we got two different states. You got that. Okay, it was up until 1.2. I'm gonna set it to 1.2. All right. So there's that. It curves. There you go. And whenever I click on state number 1, I want it to transition to state number 2. And I don't want it to loop infinitely, so I'm just going to play it once. And the same thing with state number 2, I'm just going to play it once. And state number 2, I'm going to be adding another event that goes, when I click it, it goes back to state number 1. So let's preview this one quickly. And we can see that whenever we click it, there's the curved movement to it, or like the curved motion path. There you go. But what do you think is going to happen if we change this one to just 1.2 seconds? Do you think that the curved path is still going to be there, or do you think it's just going to transition to state number two as is? For this one, I might actually ask Tiffany. Wait, is Tiffany here? Oh, Tiffany's me. Not, it's not here. Well, let me just check the chat here. All right. So cool, cool, cool. So for this one, let's actually preview it to see if the curve motion path is still there. For this one, oh, it's not. Well, the reasoning behind it is that it's basically the same thing with Smart Animate. Since because we've set this one to like just what's this one? It's set to 1.2 seconds. It's only the only data it has is this coordinates right here. Whereas the curved motion path was stored in this transition right over here. So it was in the animation data was in this transition from from 0 seconds to 1.2 seconds. So basically, that's the reasoning for that one. That's the reason why it didn't had like a curved motion path if we just set it to 1.2 seconds. And yeah, there's that. And that's basically the basics on how interactivity works in Lottielab. For now, I think we're pretty much good to go on to like making demo, like testing out the demo for our assets.
Sure.
Oh,
Thank you, Daryl. Just gonna take a quick break to ask, check the chats for any questions. We don't have any. Guys, don't forget if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat box and we'll get them at the end of the session. So we have the basics down and we're going right into the demos now. You can still share this workshop with your friends and colleagues or fellow design lovers, and let's follow along. Daryl, you ready?
yep, ready.
Okay. All
All
right,
right,
let's go.
everyone. So if you got your Lottielab accounts, you could basically visit this link right here. It's lottielab.com/workshop 101. I made this one this morning, and I'm not sure if it's responsive or anything, but you got the assets in there. So if you actually open it, what you can see is we got three different assets. The first asset that we're going to be like trying out is we're going to be adding a what do you call this one? A layer level interaction. For the second asset, we're going to be adding a layer level interaction at the same time state level interaction. So we're going to be mixing both. And for the last one is that we're going to be adding the most trickiest interaction that still right now I'm still having like a bit of a hard time to understand. But we're going to be doing this one. We're going to be adding a mapping interaction for this. All right, so I'm just going to wait for like, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds to a minute for everyone to visit the link. And once you're in, you could basically start. Oh, wait. Do you have anything to say
Okay.
to me? Oh,
Everyone, I just dropped the link in the chat box. It's lottielab.com/workshop-101. And if you go on there, you'll be able to see the interactive lotties that we'll be working with today. I'm just going to give everyone a minute or two to
yeah, sure.
find their way there. Open up your Lottielab account so you can follow along. And I'm going to put this on Twitter as well. So you can get the link from right here or Twitter. And I'm just going to give everyone a couple minutes. When you're ready, or if you're ready, if you have your account open, if you have the workshop site open, you can just leave an emoji in the chat box, and Daryl will proceed.
All right. Thanks, Stephanie. And once you're in, if you visited the link, basically just click this first asset right here, and it's going to take you to the Lottielab editor. And from there, I'll wait. Da, 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 da.
We should play some music, shouldn't we?
I know I can sing. I'll be your music. And yeah, while everyone's waiting, this right here, this presentation I'm doing is actually in Canva, and I've just added the interactive lotties in here. So this one is made in Lottielab. I just added this quick little interaction. I made it this morning, I don't know why I made this morning, but yeah, I just made it for fun. I just added it in Canva. If you embed your Lottie animations to Canva, it works there as well. So this is a Lottie, and this one right here is a Lottie, and this one is my favorite. So click on, off, on, off. There you go. Dun, 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 dun. All right. So setting a state, downloading.
Okay.
Sure.
I think that we can go ahead now.
All right, cool.
Um, j- Perfect. So we have Julie and we have Endymion in the comments. I don't know if I should give everyone just a couple of minutes. If you have your Lottielab account, this would be really, really great. Just go to lottielab.com/workshop 101 and you find the Lottie animations that we'll be working with today. It's just really great to follow along. Just so you know, if you have any questions or if you want to know Daryl's pro tips to creating animations like this, you can ask in real time. We'll still take questions at the end of the session. But if you have any questions as we sort of recreate this animations or make them interactive right now, you can just put them in the chat box. So I think we can go ahead now.
All right, cool. So
Okay.
if everyone has their, what do you call this one? Has their editor open, or basically what we're seeing right now is that if we play out the animation, this is just like a basic like switching animations type of stuff. So this is like the Apple Fitness. I recreated this one like months ago, and I'm just reusing it right now. And the idea for this one is that what we want to do is that whenever we click on cycling or like the others fitness states, it transitions to that point of view. And for this one, if we click on running, it focuses on running. If we click back on cycling, it focuses back on cycling. And that's the idea for it. And then basically, that being said, it has about how many states does it have? It got the rowing state, we got the cycling state, and we got the running state. For that one, let me just rename it quickly. Rowing. This one, we set it to cycling. Boop, boop. And this one, we set it to running. Cool, cool, cool. And let's define the, what do you call this one? The time segment for it. So for rowing, it rows up until, let me just see it here. It rows up until, okay. It rows up until 1.50 seconds. So I'm going to tweak that to 1.50. All right. And for the cycling, let's see. It starts 1.50. No, that's the transition point. We don't need the transition. We can basically start at 1.80 up until 3.4. So 1.80 to 3.4. Let's do that one. 1.8 to 3.4. There you go. So for this one, we basically have set like two states. One is rowing, the other is cycling. And let's set the last state. And the last state is, it starts at what time? It starts at 3.70. So let's do that. Let's set it to 3.70 seconds. Up until 4 seconds. 3.70. There you go. So we've already defined our states. We got rowing states, we got cycling state. Let's play this one out. And we got the running state. Cool. So from this point, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna set this one to let them loop infinitely. This one to loop infinitely as well. And tell me if I'm going too fast, because I can definitely slow myself down. All right, cool. So again, we got three different states: rowing, cycling, and running. We've already set the timing segments for it, and what's pretty much left to do is just to add the interactions. So, adding the interactions, we're currently in rowing state. What we're gonna do is that whenever we click on cycling, it's a layer named cycling over here. We want to add a click event. And on this click event, what we want to do is that whenever we click on cycling, we want it to transition on the cycling state. For this one, I just want it to be beginning. I might just set the easing to natural for this one. And then, cool. And for this one, I can't, oh yeah, there he is. For this one, if we ever do select running, what we want to do is that for this, I'm just going to add an on click event. and now I'm going to set it to running. There we go. This is for the rowing state, and let's actually test it out if it works. I'm currently on playground, switching to playground. Tut, 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 tut. There we go. So we can see the state details on the right hand side. So currently what's playing is a rowing state. And for this one, we have already got like the target on click, cycling. If we click cycling, it goes to the cycling transition. No, cycling state. And you know what? I'm just going to rename this one quickly because it's a little bit confusing. And I don't want anyone to be confused. So I set this to rowing state, this one to cycling state, and this one to your running state. There we go. Let's see that one. Does it reflect? There we go. All right. So now that we got it, basically our rowing state is whenever we click the cycling layer, it goes to the cycling state. If we click on the running layer, it goes to the running state. So let's test that one out. There you go. It plays out. But for now, since we haven't added any interactions to the cycling state, we couldn't really do anything. But for it, that's the next thing that we're gonna do. So onto the cycling state, whenever we pick on running, oh no, rowing, what we want to do is that we want this to set this on click. So we're rowing state. Set this one to natural just for fun. And the running state, let's pick it. And whenever we click it, we want it to go to running state. So this is onto the cycling state. Once we're in the cycling state, we got two targets that we could like select. We could select the rowing layer or we could select the running layer. If we select the rowing layer, it brings us back to the rowing state. Or if we select the running layer, it brings us back to the running state. So let's actually preview that one quickly. And it should work. Should work. Let's see. All right, so we got two different states. Its details are on the right hand side. We pick on cycling, it goes cycling. If we pick rowing again, it should go back to rowing. There you go. That's it. And what's pretty much left for this one is just to do the very last state. And for the last state, whenever we pick on cycling, the cycling layer, what we want to do is that we just want it to set to a cycling state. And if we select the, what do you call this one, the rowing layer, what we want to do is make it go back to a rowing state. So there you go. I think that's basically everything. And this should be good to go, actually. So let's preview this one again in the playground. Let's see if it works. And there you go. All right, so on the right-hand side, you can see that we've already populated the states with interactivity, with interactions. So if we do click on cycling, it switches to cycling. If we click on running, it switches to running. And for this one, let's pick on rowing. It should go back to rowing. But you know what? It's a little bit too slow for my taste. So I'm just going to quickly change everything to like maybe 150. 150 seconds. There you go. For this one as well, 150. This one, 150, just for fun. 150. This one as well, I'm going to switch it back to 150. And the other two, 150 as well. There you go, there you go. All right, so let's preview this one. And yeah, let's see. You change everything to 150 and it should transition a little bit faster. So there you go, there we go. That's definitely up to my taste. Ta-da! So for this one, as you can see, it smoothly transitions to the next state without any jitters or anything. Because we've set the blend type to, I don't know, we've set it to blend. So yeah, there you go. And that's it for our first asset. And from this point, this is basically enough for all like interactions. Because with this knowledge alone, if you know how to do this, you could basically do stuff like this. And actually, let me try to put it in here. Can I? Oh wait, I can't transfer it. Let me try. Oops, sorry. Let me try to transfer this one quickly. And see if that works. Does that work? Wait, that arc doesn't allow it. But let me just drag the... Alright, let me just drag this one over here. And here are other examples of the same like interaction logic. For this one, this is a design that I got from Twitter. I forgot the name for this one, but I think it was Roshan that made this design, that made this animation design, which was really cool. I just recreated this one in Lottielab. So whenever we click on it, it goes to like a vegetarian. For this one, it goes back to this non-vegetarian option, and I don't know, it's just so fun to click. There you go. There you go. This is basically the same logic that whenever we click on this black area over here, it switches to the other state. Because if we don't click on the black area, it doesn't do anything. And even gives you a hint that you can only hit the black area. So there you go. All right. So for the other example, you got this like simple button over here. Wherever we sing, you press that and it does that. Cool. And then let me just click that one again. Lovely. Oh wait, am I not sharing my screen? Was I sharing my screen toughen me, or I hope I was. I wasn't, was I?
You were on my end.
I think I didn't present the actual window.
Oh, I see.
Let me just unshare it quickly and then share this specific window. Because for some reason, Arc doesn't allow me to switch this tab. So let me just stop presenting and screen over here. I'm gonna set it to which one was it? Which one was it? Window. This one over here. So basically, what I was showing was this one over here. This one. So basically, with the quick exercise that we did, we could basically do this other interactive assets. Like for this one over here, this is by Roshan on Twitter. He designed this button and animation. I just quickly recreated it inside of Lottielab. And then there you go. You got like the vegetarian option, the non-vegetarian option. What's basically happening for this one is also like a layer level interaction. That the specific layer for this one is this black area over here. So whenever we click on this one, it switches to the other state. But if we don't press that specific layer, it gives us this hint that you need to click this layer. So for that one, it doesn't do anything if we don't specifically click that layer. So if we click this one again, it does that. And then another example over here is this quick little button. So if we click this circle over here, what it does is that it transitions to this state. And then let me just press that one again because that's so fun. Press that one again. Oh my god, that's so good. And then another example over here is like a rating system. So we got stars. If I actually pick on number 2, like 2 stars, I'm gonna give it 3 stars. I'm gonna give it 4 stars. Oh, you know what? I might just switch it to 2 stars. So it transitions back and forth to whichever layer you choose. So I'm gonna give this 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, 2 stars, maybe just 1 star, and actually maybe no stars at all. And yeah, that's it for this first specific example. Let me share my screen again to the other window, this specific window. All right, cool. And before we actually proceed to the next asset, do we have any questions?
Yes, we do. If you check the chat, that's our chart. I have two questions there. First question is it possible to animate an input field that may be able to collect user keyboard inputs? Of course, not giving any output, but just for a user to get that feel of an interactive input box.
That's definitely possible, but not right off the box in Lottielab. To do that one, it has to be like a custom code, because currently what the interactions that we offer are just the following, or just this one over here. You got these are the events that we offer, but to do your requests, to do like an input select, what you can basically do is use this custom event over here, and then from here you can then like um use this to your code, and that whenever this custom event, whenever this, let's actually name this event, yeah, keyboard press. We could actually call this event keyboard press, and whenever we say, we could set like a function for this one, like whatever keyboard press that we do, it's gonna call this event, and it switches to this state from rowing to a cycling state whenever there's like a keyboard press that we do. And that's one way to do it. but that's definitely like an interesting option, and that would be nice to have built in right out of the box in Lottielab. So we'll definitely take that one into consideration to add
Thank
soon.
you. Thank you. Sylvester, I hope we answered your question. The second question says, is there a multi-select to bulk change the time rather than selecting one by one?
I wish, damn, I wish, because at the moment you can only select one element at a time. But though that is one of the things I highly request from our engineers as well to also bulk select it. But what we can do is that you could also we don't even have context menu yet for this one, but you could actually just copy an interaction and paste it to like a different layer for this one. But since we've already pasted the interaction will result to a conflict, oh yeah, that's because we've already got an on click. Let me just switch this one to while hovered. And if we copy this one, paste this one over here, that's basically one solution to do it, but it isn't the way to do it. And definitely we should consider having like a bulk action for this one because I agree with you. It's time consuming to change um, each interaction's timing duration, no, transition duration. So definitely
Abs-
up to one of the things to improve.
Thank you, Daryl. I hope we answered the question. And Dimion, if you have any more questions, please put them in the chat box. And at the end of each demo, I will just read them out. We have a question from Shwemi Mobamidele, and it says, is it possible to have an on-scroll event where I can animate an object from on form/state to the other while scrolling down a web page?
Definitely possible. Definitely possible, but it's not, it's basically the same answer with, what do you call this one? With the first option with the keyboard press. It's an interaction that we don't support yet, but it's definitely possible if you do it in custom code, or there's a workaround if you do it in Framer. But yeah, the answer is it's definitely possible.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any more questions before we move into our other demos? If you don't have a question right now, that's fine. You can just put them in the chat box and then I'll compile and share with Daryl at the end of each demo. I believe that we are good to move on to the next one.
All right, cool. So actually, let me just close this other layers over here. Close this one as well because my all right, cool. So moving on to the next asset that we
Sorry,
have.
so
Oh,
sorry,
sorry.
Daryl. So sorry. So we just have one question just come
Oh yeah,
in,
sure.
and it says, where can we use these nice animations in a commercial way? I believe this person is speaking about the use cases
Oh
of these interactive animations. So if you can touch on that for a while before, just for a second, just for a minute or two before moving to our next demo.
yeah, sure thing. You could basically use this one anywhere. Like one of the examples, one of the use case I did for this one is in my presentations. This one I did this in Lottielab, and this is an interactive Lottie. This is one way to do it. You could add it in Canva, but the primary use case for this one is to use it with like product tools. Say like if you want to add this in your website, let me actually visit Framer right now because I think I got a couple of examples. So I got Framer open. Let's see. Let's see. I'm not sure which one though, but let's test this one if it's in here. I'm not sure. But basically, you can add it to your like could basically add it to your landing pages, your apps, or any websites. For this one, I got a specific example for this one that whenever I hover over this button, it transitions to this one. This is just to like entice users to click this button over here because this is like a portal to a new realm of like endless motion and wonder. So yeah, let me just hover that one over again. That's so good. I'm so proud of that one. But yeah, this is one of the main use cases for interactive light animations. This is just to, I don't know, to make the experience more delightful for users as well. This you could add it to your products or you could use it to your presentations. And those are the two main things I have on top of my head because those are like the primary things I use it for.
Thank you, Daryl. I would say that pretty much anyone can use interactive lotties, and I remember in the blog post that we wrote, we said that interactive lotties can be used in so many industries of like from like
Yeah.
e-commerce to education. If you have like an e-commerce website, you can use interactive lotties to give 360 views of your products, and just sort of highlight the key selling points. Marketers can use interactive lotties to create interactive landing pages, or even ads that sort of react to user interaction. Game developers can use interactive lotties, in presentations for your data visualization. Pretty much anyone can use an interactive
Anyone and
lottie.
anywhere can use it.
Anyone and anywhere can, and anyone
Yeah.
anywhere can use an interactive lottie. So the possibilities are really endless, and it just depends on if you want to captivate your audience, and that if you want to captivate your audience and just keep them engaged, this is just really like that way that you can just have everyone sort of interact with whatever assets you've created. So pretty much anyone can use it in a commercial setting, I would say.
I second to that.
Okay. Thank you everyone for your questions. We're still taking questions up until the end of the demo. But I will just pause for now for Daryl to get into the next one.
All right, cool. So on to the next asset. This asset is basically a concept for what do you call this one? For the airplane mode iOS. So the idea for it is that whenever we click on it, it transitions to this state and animates to that state. And that's the idea for it. So let's actually okay. But let me just ask, is everyone onto this asset by this time? If so, I'm gonna proceed on to adding some interactions to it. All right, cool. So let's see here. How many states do we need to add for this one? There's one state where it's currently off, another state for the transition, and another state for this one for the on, and another state for the landing, and then another state for the off. So there's about 4 states for this one, and let's place them in here. So let's set this one to like the initial state where it's not moving. For this one, let's set it to the takeoff state. Oops, take off, take off state. There we go. Let me scroll this up and see. This one should start 0. 0.4 seconds up until up until 1.79 or 1.8. Well, let's just set it to 1.79. 1.79, 1.8, or this one 0.4. There you go. And see, does it transition? Yep, that's what we want. And then for the next thing, for the on state, just this part, we want it to stay in there for, there you go, for about 2.2. So it's 2.2. Lovely. There you go. Transition to that one. And let's name this one on state. On state. Lovely, lovely. For this one over here, let's set this other state. Let's call this state the landing state. Landing state over here. And then for a while, let me just check something quickly. Nothing. Okay. For this one, let's set it to landing state and let's preview. Landing state runs about up until here. So okay, so up until to this point, this is going to be landing state. So we don't actually need this fifth state over here because we can set it as the off state. So we got four for a while because I think I got a couple of messages. Let me just check this one quickly. Uh huh. Oh, okay. I got no messages. Sorry for that one. Sorry for the delay. Okay, so we've already defined our states and we've already set the time, what do you call it? Time segments for them. So we got 4 different states. We got an off state, we got a takeoff state, and an on state, and a landing state. So for this one, what we want to do is still, we want to select, whenever we select this circle over here, what we want to do is, whenever we select this one, I want it to transition to On click, I want it to transition to take off state. So to that one, it basically transitions to this. And after this one, instead of like adding a layer level interaction, what I'm going to do for this one is that I'm going to be adding instead a state level interaction that whenever I finish this state over here, I want it to transition over to on state, this one over here. All right. And actually, let's preview this one quickly. Let's see if it works. So for this one, we're currently mixing a layer level interaction and with a state level interaction. So if I click over here, click over airplane mode, for some reason it doesn't allow me to do it. Let's figure out why. And that's because I see. Because the airplane mode, there's another element on top, which is called target, and we couldn't select it below it because this other element is on top of it. So we should be adding the interaction to this layer to target instead of the airplane mode. That's my bad. So off state over here, we're currently selecting the target layer, and we're gonna add an on-click event to take off state. For the airplane mode, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna delete the interaction over here, minus that. There you go. So we're currently selecting target. Whenever we press on target, it's gonna take us to take off state. Right, let's preview that one again quickly. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see this one. Right, off state. There we go. It plays out and then proceeds on to on state. Let's check this one again. Let's bring this back to off state. Whenever we click on off state, it goes to take off state, and after the take off state is finished, it goes to on state. Lovely. That's what I want. So on so for the on state, for this one, whenever we click over the target again, I want it to go to landing state. And for landing state, after that, what I'm gonna do, after finish with the landing state, I want it to transition back to the off state. So let's see that one. Let's actually check that one quickly. See if that works. You honestly don't need to do this because for sure every time you do this, it will work. But I just like to double check things. So let's see this one. All right, that works. If we click on it again, lovely, that works. If we click, and yeah, that's basically it for now. But we're not yet done. For this one, what if you want to add like, while it's still transitioning, you want it to go back to like the off state. While it's transitioning to the on state, you want it to go back to off state. For that one, we could also add like another layer interaction for this one. So for take off state, what I'm gonna do, I want it to transition to the landing state. And for that one, I want it to transfer just so that it smoothly transitions to the next state, the next progressive state. For this one, I'm gonna do the same thing. For whenever it's on landing state, I want to set to take off state and transfer as well. So whilst it's still transitioning, we could actually select the element. So let's check that one quickly. See if that works. Oof, oof. Yep, that works. All right. And so basically that's it for this interaction. We've basically merged two levels of interactivity for this one. It was first on a state layer level and on a state level, and then on a layer level of interaction. So this is basically how you merge things. So for example, for this one, it doesn't show you the element itself, but just says on finish. Once this state is finished, go to this state, which is the on state. And same thing for the landing state. Once landing state is finished, we want it to go to off state. And that's basically it for this asset. Was everyone able to follow along, or were there any issues for it?
Checking the chat. Doesn't seem like anyone running into any issues. If you're following along on that animation and you run into sort of any snags, you can leave it in the chat box and Daryl will sort of help you out. Or if you have any questions so far, we are happy to take questions. Just taking a look at the chat box just to see, and checking on Twitter if anyone has dropped anything for us. Nothing so far. I believe we can proceed.
All right. Let me check. Do we have any questions? Wow, what an eye opener. Thanks, Dandelion. Will this be available for
Um,
viewing after live? I think
yes, yes, it
definitely.
will. Yeah, yeah. So we will have the recording of the session on our YouTube channel, so you can watch and share when this is over. So yeah, it will be available after the live.
Cool, cool, cool. Dun, 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 dun. I think we're good to go on to the next asset, are we?
Yep, yeah, I believe we are.
All right, cool. So on to the last asset. This is the trickiest of them all. This Amazon card right here. And this card design is actually by Cactus. I recreated this design over here in Lottielab. I got this design from Twitter as well. I'm all over Twitter right now. But the idea for this one is that whenever we grab this part of the layer, this part of it, what we wanted to do is that we wanted to peel from this part, revealing this section over here. And that's basically the going to be the idea for it. Whenever we move our mouse from right to left, we want this part to reveal. And it's a little bit tricky, so yeah, it's a little bit tricky because I'll explain it later once we get to that point. So basically, we got two states that we have here. We got the first state, which is just this part over here. Let's see, before it transitions from there, you could go. It's actually specifically 2 seconds. So let's actually just specify the 1 to 2 seconds. Lovely. And the other state to 2 seconds up until the very last. All right, cool. So for this one, the reason why it's tricky because this interaction doesn't really change the state, but instead maps out the par- the setting that you've assigned to it. And for this one, we could assign like different things. We can map it to the time progress, or we could map it out to the playback speed. But for this one, we're going to be mapping out the blending modes. And then the idea for it is that whenever we reach like 100%, oh yeah, there's also this new feature that our David just added in. It's this hint right here. You can see that when our mouse X is currently 50. Oh, what number is this? It's currently 40% of this progress. It shows you over here, but what we want to do is that whenever it's like 100%, we want it to fully blend from state one to state two. And that's the goal for it. So I think this is pretty much okay. Let's see here. Yeah, state one to state two. And we don't need to add anything on state two. And let's see how that works quickly. Oh, there you go. All right. So the only thing with it is that since the 100% is over this area, whenever we do this, it's not the interaction that we wanted. It's actually the inverse of what we wanted. So for this one, I think what we need to do is we need to set this one instead to like a mouse X. We need to set this to a mouse distance. And inside of mouse distance, we want this focus point to go over here because we want our cursor to start from here. Is it here? And peel out from here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This part right here. So let's start this one. This part right here is going to be the 100% of the animation. Once our cursor reaches this this point of the design, we want it to fully transition to state number two. And for that one, let me just grab that one really quickly. There you go. Let's see if that works. So whenever I'm on the right side, it shouldn't do anything. Oh yeah, lovely. There it is. There you go. And now that's one way. Now what I wanted to do is before actually like triggering this state, what I want to do first is that I want to set a state first that I could only access this interaction only when I press it. Just so that we get like that grab feeling, like grab and peel feeling for it. So for that one, we're gonna set a different state for it. And I might just copy the same state over here, paste it over here. State one, state two. Reorder that. I'm gonna set this to while pressed. Well, press state, and actually, just so that I could see it clearly, I might just play this animation. Play the animation. Let's see how that works. Oops. Oops. Why doesn't it play? There we go. So we got this animation over here, and It's moving a little bit too fast. Let me just adjust that one quickly. Let me have it moving half the speed. Okay, that's a little bit better. Now, what I'm gonna do for this one is that whenever I click on it, I want it to transition to state number 2, where the interaction for the follow cursor is available. So I'm gonna say while pressed, while this state is pressed, I want it to transition to state number 1, where it has the peel interaction. This interaction right here, you know what? I think we might just call this grab interaction, just so that we can specify more. And this one to the peel interaction. Peel interaction. There we go. So whenever we're on this state, whenever we press this state, we want it to go to the peel interaction. And for that one, we also want that one to set to transfer. There we go. And let's preview this one quickly and see if it works. There we go. So we got the animation playing, and whenever we press the state, I want it to peel. There we go. It's currently peeling. La la la. All right, that's cool. But for some reason, whenever I'm over here, it doesn't fully close it. Why is that? But if I'm up here, it closes it fully. Why is that? Let's actually check this one inside our editor and see how the mouse distance, or the indicators, or what the indicators tells us. So whenever my mouse cursor is over here, oh, it's actually not at 0%. It's actually 21%. That's why it doesn't close fully. And it closes fully only when it was, and which part of it closes fully onto this state, which makes sense. Okay, I see. So it fully closes the peeling interaction only if you're over to this state. I think there's something that we're missing here, because we only have the extreme, but we don't have anything to set at where the mouse cursor starts, but we have a setting to where the mouse cursor should end. So I think that's something on our end that we need to fix, or we need to add. But that's basically it for this interaction. If you want to do a peeling interaction for this one, you could also see it on the right hand side, that on mouse down, it goes to the peel interaction. And on the peel interaction, it maps to blend to state number 2. And once we reach this part of state number 2, this part over here, this fully blends the peel interaction in the state number 2. And then if we mouse up, if we let go, it goes back to the grab interaction. And there we go. And that's it for this asset.
Thank you so much, Daryl. Do we have any questions? If you're following along, did you get stuck anywhere? Now would be a good time to ask, so Daryl can help you out or answer any questions that you have. In the meantime, we have loads of features that we released this week, including last week, I beg your pardon, including design playground and blend moods. We would love to see how you sort of work on Lottielab. So if you create any asset, please don't forget to tag us at Lottielab on Twitter. We're happy to repost. We are really just gathering a lot of user-generated content. So we'll be happy to repost. If you create any interactive lotties, you can share a link if you like us to take a look. If you have any issues at all, just send us a DM and we'll be happy to help you out. We also have a Discord community. It's really lively, really engaging. If you have any questions, if you're stuck, we would either come in and sort you out, or a member of our community can answer your questions or help you. I recently interviewed someone who said that he literally just took an asset from a community member instead of recreating from scratch. So he needed sort of a shine animation, and he was really worried about creating it from scratch. But then he asked in community, and someone just sent him something, and he just just took that on and used it in Lottielab. So it would be really great if you can join our community. I'll put the link in the chat box. If you have any questions, Daryl is putting his Twitter handle, and then you can also sort of reach out to him. We'll be having workshops like this every week. So don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, create an account so we can add you to our newsletter. We really, really want to get everyone on the Lottielab crew. We really want to, help you guys create amazing animations. So yeah, I'm just gonna put the link to the Discord community in the chat box while I wait for anyone who has any questions. Daryl, in the meantime, do you have anything to share?
Yeah, yeah. So if you got any questions, I think from you just mentioned it. These are my like usernames for each platform. So next, you can contact me from here. I'm Daryl023, or maybe on LinkedIn, I'm just Daryl Patigas. And I'm more active on X, but I'll try to be active on LinkedIn as well to answer any questions.
Okay. I don't believe we have any questions? I'm looking through the chat box. Okay, so we have one question. Sona said, if we get stuck after this, how do we get more support? You can send us a message in our Discord community. I just put the link in the chat box, or you can send us a message on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, pretty much anywhere, and we'll sort you out. But the community is really where you get just really really fast responses, either from the Lottielab team or from the community in general. So it'd be really great if you can join. The second one is there going to be a Lottielab marketplace where one can create a custom-made Lottie templates to sell? At the moment, we don't currently have that, but never say never. That could come on in the future, but at the moment we don't have that. Yeah, but I mean, it is possible that we do that later on, but just fingers crossed. Um, does anyone have any other questions? No? Okay. This was such a fun workshop. Thank you so much for joining. This workshop will be live on YouTube. Not live. It will be on YouTube after this, so you can always come back to watch. Again, like I said, it'd be great if you can join the community. So if you're stuck at any point, you can send a message and tag Daryl directly, and he'll be I'm happy to sort it out. In the meantime, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and the usual places. We have a lot more features coming up in the next couple of weeks, and I think you're going to be really, really excited. Thank you so much for joining us. We're really grateful to have everyone join. Daryl, do you want to say your goodbyes?
Goodbye, everyone. See you in the next workshop or see you on like the next tutorial. Thank you
Okay.
so much for joining.
Okay. All right. See you guys. Bye.